All right, welcome aboard. We are in Walden, Colorado on a blustery day. We need to make our way back over the Continental Divide to Longmont, and we've got almost a perpendicular wind to the Continental Divide, so we're going to have a good rising air current to shoot us up and over today. There's I just pulled up the VFR chart because there's the wilderness area just to our east, which I want to use the range to help us climb, but I want to be respectful of the wilderness area. It looks like we have some options up here at the northeast area, or we can kind of stay 2,000 feet outside of this, which I think is probably the better option. The winds are blowing so strong today that they'll shoot us up even if we stay a little ways away from the ridge line.
Zulu weather, wind 180 at 15, gust 2, visibility 107,000, scattered 8,000, scattered, temperature 12 Celsius, dew point -5, altimeter 2983, remarks, density altitude 9,900.
Pilots, watch for wildlife on or adjacent to runways.
They're not joking about the wildlife. Just I took a couple of photos of a herd of deer crossing the runway a second ago.
Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I just landed. My gyro's still spinning down, and we've got a whole herd of deer that just crossed the runway. So they're not kidding when they make that announcement about Walden having wildlife on the runway. It's open range here.
All right, we're going to taxi out of here and back taxi runway 22, departing to the east. Walden traffic, Mooney 7164 uniforms, back taxiing runway 22 for an east departure, Walden. All right, it looks like our density altitude is 9,500. What that translates to is this Mooney will not climb out of here, and you can see the mountains are right in front of us in the direction that we want to go. So we're actually going to use that to our advantage, use that rising air current, and I'm going to teach you how to fly in the mountains, not over the mountains. Walden traffic, Mooney, November 7164 uniforms, taking off runway 22 for an east departure, Walden. All right, I'm going to lean on the roll. We've got plenty of runway here at Walden, and I don't want to pick up any rock chips. So here we go. That should be good right about there. It is gusty. But we're up and away. Lower the nose. Accelerate. Ice to the engine here and richen it up a little bit more. And flaps are going to come out now. They'll also help us with the climb. And we'll turn out here and avoid flying over downtown. Aiming straight for the mountains, which we're going to use to our advantage. So right now I'm actually seeing pretty decent climb, 600 feet a minute, which may not be much to you turbocharged Moonies, but for me at 10,000 feet, that's not bad. And as we approach the mountains here, that's just gonna shoot up exponentially. Gonna go on oxygen now, had it all ready to go. I might even enrich this even more because we're right at 400 degrees on our CHTs. Lower the nose, and I'm not going to worry about climbing much because the mountains are going to do that for us now. So we got to about 1,000 feet AGL. The mountains will do the rest for us. So I might add, before you go trying this, it's very important to know the wind direction. I know the wind direction. I've got it bugged here. That was the wind direction on the ground. We can also compute the wind direction using our GTN 650. And you can go the old-fashioned way by looking for ripples and ponds or smoke on the ground, or just do a 360 and see where you end up. If you maintain a standard rate 360, you can calculate your the wind direction and velocity. So we know it's almost perpendicular to the ridgeline. It's quartering just a little bit from the south, so I'm actually going to be flying into that and using that upward current to help me gain altitude here. So we're just maintaining about 500 feet a minute here, doing about 110 indicated, waiting to catch that rising air current. Now to take advantage of the rising air current, you really want to suck yourself into the mountains at almost a uncomfortable distance. Definitely the first couple of times I did it, I was very uneasy. But because we have the wilderness area here, I can't really suck my wing in as much as I'd like, but with the winds blowing as hard as they are, I don't think it'll be a problem to get that upslope air. And I was planning to fly around the north, but depending on how uneasy the currents are in here, we may cut through Cameron Pass. But that brings us around the backside of some pretty tall mountains. And I don't know that that's where I want to be today, on a day like today where it's blowing 40, 45 knots plus. But what of you? So that's about as close to the wilderness area as I want to get. That's about 2 miles, 2.2 miles. I'm getting some good climb here. There's 1,500 feet a minute, almost 2,000. Just using that rising air. Flying perpendicular or parallel to the mountain range, perpendicular to the wind. Yeah, we're averaging about 12 to 1,500 feet a minute here. So now the great debate is whether or not we gained enough altitude to safely fly through the pass here. We're above the peaks. The highest peak to our left here is 12,951 feet, so right around 13,000 feet, we're already at 13.2. But that air goes up and eddies on the backside. I think we'll give it a shot, just to try something different here. We'll continue to climb to maybe 15 to make our way through the pass. Now when you're crossing mountain passes, you want to give yourself an out. Never cross them 90 degrees. Right now, if I did 30 degrees to the right, we'd be out. Granted, we're headed into the wind, but we'd be out of the highest terrain and into the falling terrain ahead of us. Gives us more opportunity for decision making. If we lost an engine, if we get in a downdraft that we can't handle. So always cross it at sort of a glancing 45 degrees. So I'm at just about 14,000 feet now. I'm going to turn in and start my 45 degree crossing the ridgeline here. And we'll keep an eye on our VSI and our airspeed indicator. Your airspeed indicator is probably your best indication that you're going to go through changing air, you know, to flicker, and then you back up what it's doing with your VSI. So we just had a bump on our airspeed indicator, and then our VSI shot up, so I know I'm in rising air. We've got a bump again now, and the VSI is starting to sink, so now we're in sinking air. So you've got to just constantly watch those two. Those become your primary instruments, obviously altimeter, making sure you've cleared the terrain, but as you're making your crosses over the ridge line, keep an eye on your airspeed indicator and your VSI. All right, we are over the divide now. And that wasn't too bad, wasn't too bumpy. So now I'm turning 90 degrees to sort of my other 45 degrees, looking down the Poudre Canyon here. Flying towards Fort Collins. I don't think it's worth it to go all the way up to 15.5. We're at 14.5 now. Once we get a little further away from the mountains here, we'll descend down to 13.5 and we'll call that our VFR altitude the rest of the way. Now that we're over the divide, we're getting a nice push. Our ground speed is 187 knots. About 140 indicated. We're starting to get some of that air coming off the divide, so I'm actually going to just head due east here and try to get away from the mountains a little further before we start our descent.
19.3, Southwest 1676.
Yeah, it's really bumping around here. This is what I didn't want. All right, go on maneuvering speed. So this is why it pays to go a little bit further to the north around the lower terrain. On such a gusty day, don't get that swirling air right behind the mountains. It's further out because it's shooting up higher and then coming down further. So I'm getting sucked into my seatbelt. I don't know how well the bumps are translating on the GoPro, but I probably negative 1G maybe. Yeah, that's a good one.
19.3 Southwest 1676.
So we slowed down to maneuvering speed. Don't want to overstress the airplane here. And it appears to be smoothing out a little bit now as we're almost out of the foothills.
I'm sorry, who's that last call?
Southwest 2574 reported vacating U70.
Southwest 2574, thank you, and I'll have you over to approach when they get you in radar here within the next couple minutes.
So in bumps like this, we're VFR right now. I'd ask for a block if we were IFR. I'm just kind of letting the airframe roll with them a little bit. We're maybe 1,000 feet up and down here as we get through the worst of it. I slowed the speed down to under about 120. and we just have to ride through it. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to make this smoother than it is. Just strategically moving my way further away from the mountains, going further east before we start our descent.
Southwest 2574, contact and approach on 119.3.
93, Southwest 2574.
The old Fort Collins Airport's right off our nose here. And I think we'll start a turn to sort of the southeast now. Smoothing out. And we'll leave the power pull back and start a descent. So that's the price you pay.
Bridge 4630.
I flew to Walden, going way north, almost to Laramie, before turning to the west, because the terrain's much lower there. On the way back from Walden, we were using the high mountains to our advantage to get that rising air and help us climb up and over. And I figured while we were there, might as well try to go through Cameron Pass. And it was actually fairly smooth. It was smoother than I was expecting, and I think the reason for that was the air was so strong that it was actually going up higher than it normally does through the pass there. And we didn't get that unstable air current until much further away from the Continental Divide. So at the worst of it, we were probably positive 2 Gs, negative 1 G. It was kind of in that range and fluctuating about 1,000 feet. It's not the worst turbulence I've been in, but it's not something I would take passengers on. For people who haven't flown in the mountains, I recommend 20 knots, winds aloft. That's my limit. If it's less than that, that's better. I want people to enjoy themselves on the first time. I made the mistake. My wife and I had a wedding to go to in Beaver Creek, and it was a gorgeous day, and I said, why don't we just fly? The winds aloft were about 45 that day, and so similar to today. And I chose that day to go through Rawlins Pass, which is notorious for bad currents on days when it's perpendicular to the ridge. And she was holding an Nalgene bottle, and it slipped out of her hands and slammed into the roof of the aircraft because the turbulence was so strong there. So if you'll notice, my wife's not flying with us today. So don't be like me. Pick good days to take your passengers. I unfortunately learned the hard way that I only fly with my wife on good days now, and I want flying to be an enjoyable experience for people. What we went through wasn't necessarily dangerous, as long as you keep the airframe, below maneuvering speed, and your stomach can handle it. It's really a matter of is it fun? Is it comfortable? Is it scary for other people? I would not fly on a day like today with a passenger who was A, not a pilot themselves, or B, someone who is not scared easily or has a strong stomach. So I was waiting to clear Loveland's airspace here. Now I'm going to sort of head southeast, and we'll see if we can make a straight-in runway 29, traffic permitting, here at Longmont. So I'll fly about 3 miles or so east of the field, and maybe make it 5 miles and sort of make a right-hand traffic. I see what looks like about 2 people in the pattern right now. If we can't do that, we'll loop around to the south and just enter the 45.
Longmont traffic, Skyhawk 737 Juliet Romeo, clear runway 29.
This should work out. We'll come in behind this Skyhawk on downwind. Well below the Bravo shelf here.
King Air 7 Mike Hotel, 7,000, 10 miles southeast of field. Gonna enter straight in runway 29, full stop, Longmont.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot, left midfield downwind, runway 29, Longmont.
Longmont traffic, King Air 7 Mike Hotel, 7,000, entering a 5 mile straight in final 29, Longmont.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot, left base 29, touch go Longmont. How fast you going, King Air?
Right now, almost 200 miles an hour over the ground, but I'm just gonna get it slowed up to about 100.
Alright, it's gonna take us about another 30 seconds.
You got time.
Longmont traffic, Mooney 7164 uniform, 6 to the northeast. Will be number 3 behind the King Air for a straight in 29.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot, on final for runway 29, Longmont.
King Air is turning on the final. Got her slowed up for you guys. Don't have you in sight though.
About a half-mile final for runway 29. Here's a wing wag.
I got you in sight now. Appreciate that. You guys have all the time in the world. Take your time.
Thanks, buddy. Longmont traffic, 94 Foxtrot's on the upwind for 29, Longmont.
Longmont traffic, Mooney 64 uniform, 4 mile final, 29er full stop.
Longmont traffic, King Air 7 Mike Hotel is clear 29, Longmont.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot, left crosswind, 29, Longmont.
Alright. 2 mile final, pulling the power back a little bit. Looking for 120. Here, extension speed. Whoa, some turbulence. There we are, 120. Gears coming down. Longmont traffic, Mooney 64 uniform, 1 mile final, 29 full stop.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot is a beam. The number is 11 in the downwind for a touch and go on runway 29, Longmont.
500.
Oof, Mooney, that looked like butter.
Thank you very much.
Longmont traffic, 1094 Foxtrot's in the left base for runway 29, touch and go Longmont. I'll see if we can do any better.
Longmont traffic, Mooney 64 uniform, clear at Alpha 2.
Longmont traffic, King Air 7 Mike Hotel will be holding short 29, Bravo 1. Watch some landings. No pressure.
Haha.